Dr. JC here. Welcome everybody. Tech and Society in the Ancient World, Lesson 1. We're going to spend a little bit of time here talking about how technology may have impacted society and vice versa in the ancient world. We're going to start here in China, ancient China. Now, associated with ancient China are these four great inventions: papermaking, printing, gunpowder, and the compass. Papermaking can be traced back to China's Kailoon, as mentioned here. Chinese found that it was a little bit problematic to use silk, that's expensive, or bamboo and bone to print on because, well, who wants to haul that around all day, right? So they went ahead and decided to use paper. Once paper was created, the best way to go about disseminating information would be to mass produce it. And the best way to mass produce that would be through printing. And the Chinese then would begin to print through the use of wood blocks. So we do see movable type traceable back to ancient China. The Chinese were also responsible for creation of the gunpowder and magnetic compass. Now, I don't expect everybody to know the name Wu Jing Yo, all right? But I would like you to remember and associate gunpowder with China. Now, China would at least initially start to shoot this stuff up in the air and it explode, and all sorts of pretty different colors and shapes would explode, what we might call fireworks today, right? But at some point they determined, look, we've got people that are coming into our lands we don't necessarily like. Why don't we aim this downfield and pack some lead into it and fire this stuff at enemies of ours? And therefore, gunpowder became quite the both offensive and defensive weapon. Chinese would also be responsible in many ways of coming up with this compass. Now, in many cases, most of us today, we can just use our phone, right? Figure out what direction we are, or in some cases, don't even need to know. We just plug it into the GPS. Well, if you're trying to go places, as the Chinese were, then you'd need a compass. And the sheer creation of a compass does let us know that China, yes, while they're known for building walls, was also interested in what was out there. They were active traders. After all, why else would you need a compass than to be able to navigate, hopefully on open water? And we'll talk about the creation of great navies by the Chinese as well ahead. In addition to those four great Chinese inventions of papermaking, printing, gunpowder, and the compass, the Chinese also came up with a calendar system, this Tai Chu calendar, which measured time down to about 365 and a quarter days. If that sounds familiar, it should. It's basically the same calendar we use today. Now, Western thought would place this back in the Gregorian days, which has to do with post-Renaissance in many ways Europe. But in reality, this calendar was created some 1500 years before the Gregorian calendar in Europe. Therefore, it is really much more Oriental than it is Occidental or European. Now, before we leave China and head to the Near East and talk about Persia, I wanted to pose a couple quick questions for everyone. Now, these aren't anything that you need to answer per se in a forum or an email response, just something I want you to take into consideration before moving on to Persia. If someone were to ask you whether those four great Chinese inventions, papermaking, printing, gunpowder, the compass, or that calendar system, the Tai Chu calendar, whether they had a greater impact on society or technology, how would you answer that? And would you be able to answer it sort of carte blanche, saying, oh, they all had a greater impact on society, or oh, they all had a greater impact on technology, or would they be split? Where would you place those? Dr. JC out here from China. We'll pick up with Persia next.